Hi everyone, and thanks for joining us today. I'm musicologist Faustina Duraite, and today we have a special guest, Agustín Castilla-Ávila. Hi, Agustín.
Thank you very much, Faustina.
Yes, I'm very happy to have you here in Vilnius and to have this interview. And for the introduction, I don't even know where to start because you're like a one-man band. You are a composer, guitarist, researcher, also graphic artist. So how would you describe yourself?
As a creative person, curious, and I think I'm not the only artist like doing several things. Everything today, 21st century, is very open.
Yeah.
So I enjoy what I'm doing, and you know, when you're long enough in the business, you have the opportunity to go to some areas that maybe a few years ago I wouldn't have imagined that I
Yeah.
would be there.
Yeah. And you are working on many music-related fields, also travel a lot. So how does it shape you as a person?
Yeah, it enrich. I think traveling and knowing it's very enriching. I'm very lucky. I just came from Asia. I was there doing some lectures. I'm representing LMTA,
Yeah.
and so I
How many
mainly
lectures? Like eight,
ate in
if I
2
remember.
weeks in 3 countries. But I'm very blessed that I met wonderful people, a lot of students who maybe they got some inspiration from me. I met a lot of colleagues, other teachers, artists, and this is very positive. And of course, yeah, if I'm working more as an artistic researcher, I have more freedom to be more creative
Yeah.
and also to spread my ideas. When you're teaching, of course, you have your structure will be different. So at the moment, it's very open, it's very free, and yeah, I try my best with what is available in the structure.
Okay, so what ideas or project are you working on at the moment?
At the moment, yeah, I'm working in this book after the proceedings of the microtonal village.
Yeah.
You had a wonderful presentation there, and and also I'm a little bit behind with composing. Sometimes traveling, the only problem is you don't really get enough hours that you, okay, now is my space for a couple of hours. It's very difficult to write any ideas in a very short time, so at least for me. So I'm also trying now. I'm a little bit more than a week in Vilnius, which I love it here. So I feel very comfortable. So I'm back composing a little bit. And a part of this, I'm working on designing new projects with colleagues here in Vilnius, and a little bit of everything.
So you mentioned composing, and as I know, you brought a guitar with you.
Yes.
Do you have to buy a second ticket for guitar? How do you?
Yeah, sometimes it's a good idea. It depends. Sometimes, yeah, every time you travel,
Is it difficult to fly with instrument?
yes, it's getting even the laws, European laws say you're allowed to take your guitar with you, but then the companies will decide. I remember maybe 2 years ago or so, an air company, okay, maybe I should mention the name or maybe not, they didn't let me fly. Yeah, sometimes you are very unlucky.
So you had your guitar with you, and they said
Yes,
no.
and then I was just waiting there until they were gonna find a solution for me, but then they didn't find it, and and so I stayed there, and I think they did something very illegal, but they compensate me the very next day. I think a boss or somebody saw what happened, and they wanted to make sure I get this compensation, that I don't make more problems for the company, of course, yeah. And when I was in Asia in February, I didn't take the guitar. Sometimes when I know people, I say I prefer to travel without the guitar, and I borrow one here, one there. And anyway, I'm not really so active as a guitar player. I was playing a little bit there, so it's also a lot of fun when I get the time and I can practice and I can play mainly compositions of mine. But anyway, so it's very tough for guitar players. I mean, you see, it's a tough life, and traveling with instruments, boy, it's really something.
And how many guitars do you have?
Classical guitars, I have my concert guitar and then one for teaching, and this is the one I brought to Vilnius. And then electric guitars, I don't even know, maybe 11 or 12. I do a lot of experimental music with the electric guitars. And so in the basement is really full with guitars, and I'm not really aware of how many I have there.
Big family.
Yes.
Okay, so as I know, you recently finished your opera, Cerro Rico. Tell me more about it.
Cerro Rico, yeah, it's an opera after a libretto by the Austrian author and psychologist Herbert Mackinger, and he's also the owner of Mackinger Verlag in Austria. And it's I think it was really the first time a libretto came to me, and I thought my music will work very good with these words and with the story. And so it's about a silver mine in Bolivia, and also there's some mythological elements. It's a really very interesting story. It's a love story about two middle-aged couple. It's about this tragedy of working in a mine for centuries, of really a lot of accidents, people dying of silicosis, and but there's also some character on the second act, which is the daughter of one of the characters, like representing the future. So there's a lot of elements in this opera that I really like. So it's like the hope for the future, the power of women in the mine, which was not allowed before for centuries, women to enter the mine, maybe for protecting reasons or maybe for other reasons. I don't know this. And they don't even know, because it's the tradition, and they connect it to mythology. So they say there's a God, he doesn't allow this. So when a woman enters, there's going to be tragedy, and it kind of tragedy appears also in this story. So this opera is about 2 hours and a half in 2 acts. So for orchestra, choir, and a few singers. And it was supposed to be produced by an opera society in New York, but during the pandemic, like it happened to a lot of composers, I guess. So this project was completely cancelled. So, and I found myself in the middle of the pandemic in a very difficult situation. But then the pandemic also gave us a lot of free time, or think about our free time. So I decided to finish it and then to try to find a solution. We are still trying to look for a production. So we also organized a crowdfunding last year. We have a serious amount of money for the production, and we're still very open to look for possibilities. We were in conversations with a festival, with the Village Festival in New York, and they wanted initially to produce it in 24, then 25 for this year, but at the moment it's still very open. And Herbert Mackinger and me, we are looking for other options. Even here in Vilnius, I'm already trying to find out if there's a possibility of a production or a co-production, something like this.
Yeah.
It's part of the work also for the composer when you have the position I have at the moment.
Is it a microtonal opera?
No, I mean it's there's microtonal guitar, but for color reasons. I mean, there's orchestra, and there are two guitars in the orchestra, and I think they play kind of like, it might sound like a signature of mine sometimes, and also because of the connection with folk music. So, and the two guitar players in the orchestra, they play all kind of guitars actually. It really starts with charango, which is a very small guitar. It's just a few seconds, and then right after comes the orchestra. And probably the first act is a little bit further from folk's music, might be a little bit more abstract, a little bit darker, but still not too far away, I would say. And the second part, the second act of the opera is a little bit shorter, and the movements are also a bit shorter, and it's getting closer to folk music. I mean, it's not folk music what I wrote, but it's more influenced because of the characters, what happens in the opera. There are also some parts with traditional music from Bolivia. I didn't write traditional music from Bolivia really, but I got close, and even there's a child singing like 3 times, like a minute. So I did very small music, and this very small music is more connected to the folk music. So because of how the plot develops in the opera, and so with this feminine character, this young woman with a very young kid, so I try to be more to change a little bit the focus of or the function of the music sometimes in the second act.
It's very interesting. Can you tell me more about the mythology, the mountain Cerro Rico?
About the mountain? Yeah, it's been a mine for many centuries. I mean, before Europeans went there, was already exploited as a silver mine, and then it was colonized, let's use this word, and the conditions never really changed. And even today,
Until now?
I mean, I think the conditions for the workers are not so different from centuries ago. It's still very dangerous, still death almost every day, some people. And of course, so many years of of taking the minerals, the mountain, even when it goes down, is going down, and they are always afraid it will drop completely. And when they enter the mine, they have this tradition. Is very, of course, I can imagine that when you have death so close to you, anything helps. So people are very superstitious there. So when you enter the mine, you have the god called Tio, and Tio probably comes from the beginning of the word Dios in Spanish. So Dios. So it's kind of the god of the mine. And so there's a lot of mythology, a lot of fantasy about the stories of Tio. Tio coming out of the mine once a year, mixed with Catholic religion. It's really, really interesting. And they have once a year what they call the Diablada.
What does...
And so Diablo means devil. I mean, the opera is written in Spanish, actually. The libretto was written originally in German, and I started to do it in German, but then this institution in New York, they suggested a translation at the very beginning, so I did the translation myself with a little bit of help, and then we did the whole opera in Spanish. So this Diablada for us could be like a carnival as well, like Mardi Gras, some kind of this celebration that people go outside, they really celebrate, and this of the two forces, the good and the evil, kind of this competition, and so I think it's very human. This kind of celebrations happen in different ways all around the world.
That's very interesting. I'm looking forward to see the opera very much.
Thank you so much. I hope it happens very soon.
Yeah.
And yeah, we are, Herbert and I, will trying our best for the production. We are always getting closer to the production and to the possibilities. I mean, we are always stronger with the financial possibilities, and yeah, I hope we find the right partner soon that it can be produced. I think I said this a few times. I believe it's my best work, and also opera was the reason I changed from guitar to composition many years ago. My real passion. I mean, I'm doing today graphic arts, improvisation, artistic research, all these kind of things, but my priority as an artist, or what I enjoy the most, although I really enjoy everything I do, but opera is really the best, and I always think of how this can be conceived for the audience. I feel more responsibility when I write anything stage work.
Yeah.
I think so much, okay, what is the audience perceiving at all times? So it allows me to manipulate the emotions, because audio waves provoke a particular emotion. Actually, it's not that visually. It's very difficult to move the consumer of your art, but with audio it's a little bit easier. And also we all love stories, so
Yeah.
I love storytelling. So writing an opera gives you the opportunity to express so many things and to manipulate that they enjoy the most, and then also how you organize your timing and relate it to the story. Okay, now I will try to make you cry, I will try to make you laugh here, I will try to move your heart with the kid, I will try all these kind of things. So at the end I think it's about enjoyment, and this is my work, that whoever comes and buys the ticket to watch the opera, that they enjoy as much as possible. Actually, that's my work.
That's great. And now let's change a topic a little bit, because you also work at the Lithuanian Academy of Music and Theatre in the Performing Arts Research Center. So tell me more about it.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here as an artistic researcher. So more or less, my task is to do research and then to publish, to share this work with other scholars, with other academics. So mainly to write articles or books, and secondarily I also do some lectures. I was last year in the States giving a few lectures, and I just came from Asia. I did these 8 lectures in 3 countries, representing this institution, LMTA, and I'm writing. I mean, I did some other articles, waiting for the publishing. Sometimes it takes a little longer than you think, and yeah, planning other articles, doing a little bit deeper with some areas of my research, and these days here also planning new projects with some colleagues I have here.
Yeah.
So that's more or less my work. I'm very free, so I think this is very good for any artist. If you are really free, that you have all the space in the world. You are, and they trust you and they support you like this. So I think this is a great strategy for the future of art. Actually, I think it's a very good investing of institutions. Not just that you are too much into teaching and then you don't have really the space, because the day you only have these hours. So like this you can really do more research and be more creative, and then also spread. And at the end, the lectures, you keep doing lectures, you keep teaching in a different way, and then you come here sometimes, you share your work, and that's how it works, more or less.
And you visit Vilnius quite often, so how do you feel here?
Very comfortable. I have to apologize for not speaking Lithuanian.
Oh, it's a very difficult language.
But I would like to, of course. I mean, at the beginning, there's always a line, and the only thing, I'm busy with another language, and I'm getting closer to the point where I wanted to reach with this last language. And when I arrive at this point in a few months, I will really invest the time I'm investing with this other language. I will invest it with Lithuanian, but sometimes, I mean, even of course for a Spanish person, it's very different, but I can recognize the sounds. I studied Russian many years ago, and I can recognize the sounds in Lithuanian much clearer as in other languages. In other languages, I don't really recognize how they vocalize, but this language, I think, or it's my mind, maybe I have more interest because of my connection here and all the friends I have here. So I think, I'm not afraid to. That's gonna be the next one, I guess. And it's like
great.
this, yeah. So.
And what language are you studying now?
French. Okay, so I say sometimes it's between Italian and Spanish. Anyway, it's very close, but I never really had the opportunity to learn any. So because I have in October a big exhibition in Paris, so I really want just French and be prepared for interviews like now. And probably I don't think I'm going to speak so fast as I'm doing in English, but so that's my goal. And then hopefully I will have space, and I feel also I have to. Of course, I have to learn as much as I can of this language here, of course.
And how many languages do you speak?
Okay, so Spanish and English and German. I mean, I've been 20 years in Austria. I was also living in Italy, but for Spanish people, it's like dialect, more or less. And
you're so lucky.
And I mean, of course, I mean, if you speak like Latin languages, you know Spanish as well. So the others, I mean, it's very logical. Somehow, it's a little bit easier. French, I mean, it's much easier than what it was German. I mean, there's more distance between German and Spanish than French and Spanish is very close. Some, of course, and even some sounds, they are related to German language, how I perceive them. So at the end, the more experiences you have with languages, the more you can, the more help actually with sounds.
So 5 languages.
Yeah.
That's impressive. Okay. Next question. Despite working in many music-related fields, there's one essential thread in your work, microtones.
Yes.
And I don't remember who, but during the Microtonal Village Symposium, someone referred to you as a god of microtones.
Really? Oh,
yes.
No. He's
it
wrong.
was very
She's
funny.
wrong. He's wrong. I don't. Not at all. Really. I'm very simple with microtones, and so I I can tell you the whole story in case I never told you. In the 90s, I was a student at Conservatorio de Sevilla, and I read a book by John Schneider, the contemporary guitar, and he was mentioning about microtonal guitars. So, okay, you're very young. Back then for me, in case we keep forgetting, there was no YouTube, no internet, so things were more challenging, and I wanted to try these microtones, but then of course, I was just a student. It would have been a big investment of money to buy these guitars, and then to learn this technique. My professor there, she didn't want this to happen, of course. And then anyway, the open strings were like normal guitar. So for me, I think this third part of the story was more of the problem. So either you get the intervals between the frets or between the strings. So if I cannot do one, I was probably very naive back then. I was very young. So I decided, okay, so let's put all the strings together. I don't remember the day I decided this, honestly. I know it was either 95 or 96, because then I wrote the composition and I put the date. So I know it's 96 when I wrote it. But in between, I'm old. I lived enough to forget a lot of things. So this is one of the details I forgot. And so kind of, I was not thinking of composition. I just wanted to have this experience. And so between the strings, I decided, okay, if the guitar, I guess that was my logic back then, if the guitar has 6 strings, okay, let's do 1/6 of a tone. That's the mentality of a young student, more or less. But I was very lucky that really, I felt, oh, this is the sound I want. And more or less, I still today use this system. It's like my standard system with a few variations. And when I came to Salzburg 20 years ago, I was incredibly lucky. I think that chances really kind of shape the course of your life. And somebody played microtonal of music of mine in Salzburg, and then people from the from the Ecmelic Society, from the Austrian Microtonal Society, came to the concert. They told me about the society, and then one thing led to the next one, and then at some point I started to organize this congress in Salzburg, microtonal, small is beautiful. And we were very, very lucky. It works really well. Now doing 10 years of the biannual annual symposium for microtonal music. Also doing this second one in New York. Last year was the first edition. Probably next year in September will be the second one. And my involvement mainly, probably it's more organizing these microtone events, which somehow they became very big, and everyone, I think most of the specialists all around the world, they come to this meeting. And I still write, but I don't explore too much. More or less this system works really well. I'm convinced, okay, so any guitar player can play it. And I've seen this, and so it doesn't mean that this guitar is better than the ones with the frets. Everyone has their taste, but at least guitar players, ordinary guitar players, so even traditional music players, or a little bit also involved with contemporary, they can play this. And then also as a composer, there's kind of, I think we are all feeling this everywhere. So this is the times of post-colonialism. So we are now trying to, okay, what was before the Western tempered music in the world, it's still there actually. But so with this system, not that I can do exactly Japanese music or Balinese, but at least having 36 division of the scales, so the intervals are smaller, so I can get a little bit closer to the music of, to the folk music of a lot of regions around the world. So this is very nice for me that I can use this kind of bridge between these traditions and the contemporary music. So that's my role, my work with microtonal music. I'm just down to earth with my projects, and lucky that somehow this kid that I was many years ago had this idea. I'm really lucky for that. Yeah.
Your work is very, very impressive.
Thank you very much.
And how would you explain the microtones for a non-musician?
I think everyone can picture the white and black keys of the piano.
Yeah.
So that means between the white one and the black one, there's a distance, and we call this distance semitone. So whatever is smaller than this semitone, so this an octave. So from the name C or C sharp or D, so these 12 notes, they have names. So from this note to the next one with the same name, that is called octave. And there's 12 keys on the piano until you reach the same sound. So either you have some equal divisions, like we have 12 equal divisions on the piano, and my system is 36, which is like 12, but then having two more. So kind of it's a compromise somewhere between, because I'm using this 12 plus I use two more. Very, very often I use them for color reasons. Color reason is timbrical. That's for somebody who's not a musician might sound a little bit exotic. So these can be equal divisions, or sometimes from this in the octave can be other divisions. So if it's not on the white or black keys, it's cataloged as microtonal music. But microtonal music is very old. It exists everywhere. It's still existing everywhere. And I mean, even so folk music. I mean, there's a lot of Lithuanian folk music. It's more or less, it's mostly microtonal. Of course, this 12-tone system and the pianos and the synthesizers or the guitars, so kind of colonized other music of other cultures, but sometimes, depending on the instrument you're playing, you can hear it is still very, very microtonal.
Yeah. And why is it an important topic?
Because, good question. Yeah, I mean, music, these intervals, there's an evolution, and also the evolution in the perception, how we perceive this. So the octave, everyone can recognize this interval. So we started to sing many centuries ago. We started to create music, and of course, the very first thing we recognize is this octave, because you have this empathy, sympathy of the frequencies. I mean, when you play one note and you have two strings, one E and then another E, if you play this E, this one is going to resonate because of this frequency is called sympathy. So, and then other intervals, there are other intervals also having a little bit less sympathy. So this is the evolution of music. So, and then one of the systems that a few centuries ago was thought, okay, this is a compromise, a very good system, especially for the birth of the piano. And but then these intervals, so there was a tonal system. So even today, pop music is a progression of chords. Jazz is really, really extended. I mean, they have more or less a 12 and so many beautiful things and moves that you can do with the intervals in jazz music. So this is an evolution. So also in classical music, this so the tendency was to use more and more intervals, And so at some point it became, okay, 12-tone music, so you're allowed to use the 12. There's not a chord progression like before. And so when you reach this point, how do we go next? Because at the end we are very curious animals. And so 100 years ago, it appeared suddenly a few pioneers of microtonal music. So Harvey Parch, okay, a little bit more than 100 years ago. So Julian Carrillo from Mexico was born 150 years ago. So, and Alois Habas, and so there was this tendency all over the world to experiment with other intervals. Maybe already connected, like okay, what was before, because we could hear, oh, there are some traditional instruments from this region, and it's not tempered, but it's not bad. Actually, we can hear that music doesn't have to be with this 12-tone music system to be nice. And so there was really a huge tendency, and I believe today, I mean, how I witnessed this from this position with from the symposia, I see that there are more and more composers using this, and it's another, excuse me, it's another tool that you can go forward. And what I see, everyone is different, because okay, so you have a frequency like 440, and then the next note is 880. So the next note, the octave with the same name. So you can do with these frequencies whatever you want.
Yeah.
The instruments like the guitar, I mainly use the guitar for this system. It's amazing. I mean, the evolution of the guitar, it would have been very difficult 300 years ago to do this. Probably it would have been microtonal because out of tune, to put it that way. But today, technology on the instruments, the strings, everything is so great that it makes it easier to use microtones or computer music. Or today you get a keyboard, and then you do a little bit of programming, and you can do anything. So you decide which intervals. And what I witness is that everyone is doing a very different thing. Everyone has, at the end, you create kind of your own flavor in your own music. I know, really very, very different. So kind of, I don't go with this system 33, 36 too far. I kind of, but for me, even it's amazing, but it's nearly 30 years ago. So yeah, I have lived. And, or maybe 30 years ago if I did it in 95. Oh my God. And I still enjoy this. Also like guitar, the guitar tuning, it's been like this, the traditional guitar for many years, and people are still enjoying playing classical music with this exactly tuning, or in pop music, or in other languages of styles of music. So I don't know if I really would go into like just intonation like other colleagues or other systems. I try sometimes to use 24 equal divisions of the scale, sometimes like 22. There are many, I mean, there's a huge group in near here in Estonia, and I have a lot of friends there. So sometimes I adapted. I wrote in 22, which was very challenging. I really enjoyed composing like this, but I still feel more comfortable with this 36 system. And even in the opera, I used it. I think it's very effective. It has a lot of possibilities. It can still surprise the audiences. You can change the strings. You can put any sets of strings and really create very beautiful resonances. And at the end, this is what I really like in music, to create the resonances when you are in a live place. You can perceive this aura of the music much better than when you listen with a CD, or today with a MP3. Actually, it's I mean, we hear, of course, always better the quality of what we hear artificially, but I still believe if you are there, there's something missing, still something new that you don't have there, and also you use your eyes, and so your brain will perceive the process of music in a different way.
I remember when you were telling me about the resonance when you played with the guitar. Do you remember? Maybe you can explain it more now. When you like play with all the guitar and you feel the resonance through your body.
Yeah, probably. Excuse me, Faustina. I think I mentioned sometimes I
Yeah.
forget so many things.
No, it's no
I'm getting
problem.
worried at my age. I think it's too soon to forget so many things. But yeah, I mean, even people who are not musicians, when they come to my place or my girlfriend, I sometimes use microtonal guitar, so I play 6 bass strings. The tension is lower. There's no problem for the guitar at all when you do this, and but the resonance is huge, and this is one of my favorite ones. So I can tune this microtonally. So and then just strum the strings, and it's so loud that first time I did this explorations for microtonal composition purposes, I felt that the guitar was really
Moving.
something different. So these vibrations, they were so much bigger than I had the feeling, oh, the guitar will go away from me, because the movement, you really feel it. And some people said, oh, this is like meditation, like when you get a Tibetan bowl and you concentrate on the sounds, on the resonance. So it's kind of this, because it really fills the whole room. And for this, so this is for me as a composer a very good tool, because sometimes your audience, they go there, they expect to hear like classical guitar, they have an idea of how a guitar sounds, and then suddenly you can surprise them and get whole attention, because they will be very curious as an audience, and they, oh, what am I hearing? Why is this like this? So all these processes they have in their brain. So this is exactly the perception you need, or the attention you want from your audience to be in your composition. So for this is a very good tool. And even for me, I have the other guitar, the concert guitar, at the moment tuned like this. And sometimes, we all have sometimes too much work, and sometimes a little bit too much tension. So in the evening, sometimes I do just like a meditation, a little meditation, couple of minutes. I mean, not that I do this every day, but I did it sometimes, and it really calms you. Anyway, making music, it really allows you to stay, your brain, reducing cortisol levels. I mean, it has a lot of good things, making music or listening to music for your health. And I think this one is for me, this resonance, really nice. I love it very much.
Yeah, thank you for your answer.
My pleasure.
And for the end, I have 2 related questions. So the first is, if you could go back to your childhood and recall your dreams and imaginations, what did you dream of? And the second is, how do those dreams compare to your reality today?
But I think, yeah, so probably there's a little bit of fantasy about dreams in my childhood, maybe so related to my personal situation, what I lived in my life. So I guess that maybe I could have developed. I love reading, actually, um, and dreaming also so much. Maybe, yeah, maybe it's also connected. My mother passed away when I was 5 years old, and of course, in a child, somehow it's gonna make an impact in your life. I had a second mother, of course, and 3 wonderful siblings, but I think this connected me more with some spirituality. Like, okay, I don't want to lose. It's a child. I don't want to lose this connection with my mother. And you have some fantasy all your life. So having this fantasy, it's also creativity, because when you're fantasizing, you are kind of creating, so you practice this creating in your mind, and at the end it's a matter of time that you find your way, I think, more or less. And with guitar, honestly, when I was a child, I was not interested in guitar, just playing soccer, football, and but somehow I managed to continue, and I think that was really, really lucky, unexpected. And then at some point when I was 18, meeting some, maybe the right guitar professor for that particular time in my life. So it made me, okay, now I have to take a decision. I go for music, because now I'm really into this. Before, it was secondary, but then I decided that I want to do this. And so having the guitar, so you're closer to, you have an instrument with which you can create. And then years after, I mean, I always, even when I was a child, I liked composing kind of songs. Unfortunately, I lost the compositions, at least 3, 4 compositions I used to have when I was a child, but I lost them somehow. And so at some point I continued writing with the guitars, just like small pieces for guitar, and it was getting bigger and bigger. And then another situation into, it was a divorce also in that way, so it's kind of, okay, what should I do now? And then you are a little bit older, so the knowledge, the vision you have about your life, it's a little bit clearer. And then so I wanted to give it a try, so to change from guitar. My plan was, okay, I'll make a break with guitar studies, so I focus on composition, and then I come back to the guitar, and I will be a better musician. So that was my plan. But I'm still in this process, so 20 years after, still creating. And I think, yes, and I don't know if I can really today leave composition or leave creating completely. I this year, now this week, for the first time, I'm really creating, and I feel very good. When I don't create, at some point I feel myself a little bit nervous. And so when you're creating, we when we create, we produce a lot of endorphins, a lot of happiness hormones. So I guess I need them sometimes, and so I don't think I can really, I don't abandon these composition processes. And about fantasy, I also would like to say that the older I got, that really focusing about the importance of fantasy, and we shouldn't. I mean, every time I have the chance, I remind anyone, young people, not only young people, that this is really what makes us the most human. This is just my opinion, because there are no creatures in the universe. I mean, the only known creatures in the universe having this quality, fantasy, it's us. So with this, we went so far, actually. So this is, for me, this is really the real treasure that makes us who we are, what we are, so humans. So always trying to remember this, and yeah. So I guess it's for everyone the same. Not that you have a dream when you are 7 years old or 10 years old or 15. I think you're changing. Of course, you try, you visualize, and then life. It's a mix of everything. But I think chances, of course, how events in your life, you have to decide every day different decisions, and at the end, yeah. And so I came to composition, and then by chance I started to do graphic works connected to composition, and then I started to explore specific things with music. I mean, these graphic works, I had this exhibition here 1.5 years ago, still life with silence, and it's still music actually, but it's already mixed with the graphic because of the perception, the visual part of music, and so I can try to make something related to each person, like to create what I call portraits, or to do different things with this. I've been also now, unbelievable, like 17 years involved with this still life with silence. And this also allowed me to do like the first silent opera that was already also 12 years ago, 2013. And sometimes, so also with composition, I did a few years ago this theory, this research theory classification called instrumental techniques interchange. So the more experiences you have, and so your vision as an artist, and age, of course, you learn every day. So you can do some processes in a different context that you are exploring, and then you get something new. At least this is my case. So I took, for example, this instrumental techniques interchange, which are in the discipline of music, but discipline of music is very different. I mean, the techniques of piano and guitar, I play guitar, I cannot play piano. But having these different techniques in the music, or different sub-disciplines, how they cataloged officially. So when you take really two disciplines and do the same processes, you get something new. From this new, you learn again, you see some vision. You still have a different vision every time. After you create the product, you're still curious, and so your path goes like this, with external influences, with collaborations, with call for works, with the stimulation of an institution, with so many things, and yeah, so that's why an artist develops today, and I think we are all doing. We are very together in several disciplines, so that's why. And we are so aware of so many things from other disciplines, so that's why we are becoming wider. I mean, there are many cases that artists, they are not just doing one discipline, but they are doing several things.
Yes. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you. Yeah.
I think it was very nice interview.
Thank you so much, Faustina.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.